All right. Hello. Uh, it's me. Hi. Yeah, I wanna make a board game. That's the plan, at least for the time being. Uh, I've I've gotten very, very burnt out trying to do more Project the World stuff. I just can't seem to find my groove with it. I keep just pinging from one idea to the next, to the next, to the next. So I think as an executive decision, I'm just going to take a bit of a break from that and instead start a different project that kind of flexes different muscles than I'm used to. And I think the way that I want to do that is by making a board game. I love actual board games in real life. I've never made a board game. I got very close to making a card game, but it didn't really pan out because then I started working on Project the World. So that's like pre YouTube video creation days, I suppose. But I love board games in real life. I like playing them. I have a fairly decent collection of my own board games that I've bought over the years for myself. And I've always thought about just making one from start to finish. The goal would be to actually finish it and make it good and make it. That was the goal, to make it and to sell it to people for money. So I think that's what I want to start doing now and just kind of buckle down and go through the whole process. Now, I do not know the whole process, but I know for a fact what I have to do first is at least get some kind of a prototype. I need something that actually works and that I can actually play and is fun. And then the next big thing would be the polish on it, and like art and getting people to play test it and kind of going back to the drawing board and entering that whole cycle. Uh, and then the third big thing would be to actually, once I have like a good working product, would be to actually make it and distribute it to people. Now, I'm not worried about the third step, and I'm kind of thinking about the second step right now, but right now the first step is all creative work. And I really like creative work. I think I'm fairly good at creative work. So that's what this is going to be. This is the creative portion of the entire process. So, what I want out of this is to actually make a game from just start to finish. And mostly these videos, like 98% of the intention of these videos is more so for myself to sort of document my progress. I find that by documenting my progress in whatever I'm working on allows me to keep going with it because I'm always thinking about it then and how I can make more progress. So, what we're going to be doing with all of this is I'm just going to be recording myself going through the creative process that I go through in order to make these kinds of board games, and you're going to be along for the ride. So, I guess feel free to like throw this on in the background if you find that kind of thing enjoyable. Me personally, I just throw on music when I'm aimlessly working, but obviously now I'm just going to be talking to myself and you're just going to hear me talking to myself. So I'm going to ramble a lot and it's going to be rather incoherent and I'm probably going to hit a lot of dead ends and it's going to be just a long while of me just talking to myself and writing down ideas and such. And that's gonna be this whole series of videos, really. It's just me working through the process. So if you like that kind of thing, great, you're in the right spot. If not, uh, I would suggest going and finding something else that you would rather spend your time watching, unless you're interested in seeing something like this, which I think might be cool. So, yeah, I guess with that being said, we're just going to get started. Um, so I guess the first thing that I would want to do is get something that is already existing and kind of modify it from there. I mean, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to do like a whole new I don't want to be like a trailblazer of inventing systems for board games. I don't think I want to do anything like that. I would much rather take already established things and kind of cobble them together like a Frankenstein's monster and put a new coat of paint on it and call it my own. Some might refer to this as stealing. I, however, refer to this as ingenuity. So, thinking of games that I really, really like, and maybe some aspects of that I really like. The first thing that comes to mind is uh, just my favorite board games. Oh, right, my computer's American. Sweet. Favorite board games. Uh, one of my all-time favorite board games that I play a lot with friends is Sentinel and Sentinels of the Multiverse. If you don't know what Sentinels of the Multiverse is, please pick up a copy if you have um, a few extra dollary dues laying around somewhere. It's a great cooperative deck builder esque game. You get to play as like different fictional superheroes, and you get like a specific custom deck to your hero, and you play it in a certain way, and you fight supervillains as a group. And then later expansions came along and allowed you to play with like multiple villains in alternating turns. So like you have like three players and three villains, and then you take a turn, and a villain takes a turn, and then someone else takes a turn, and then their villain takes a turn, and it's a good time. It's a good time, and you there's a lot of great mechanics with it that I really like. In terms of like being able to play cards, it's also like deceptively simple to pick up. You literally every single turn is just you start your turn, you play a card, and then you can use like a single ability on any of your cards that you have in front of you, and then you draw a card, and then your turn's over. And all of the complexity comes down to what character you're picking and like how well you understand your character and how your character plays and how well you understand the villain that you're playing. And it's all just a learning experience with your friends if you've never played before, and if you have played before, it's a lot of great like optimization because then you're communicating with your friends like, okay, who's going to go first, who's going to do all this, like who's going to do what first, so that we can maximize our effectiveness as a team. And I think that's great. Um, there's a lot of great like team building aspects to that game, um, like teamwork, uh, deck building esque. Um, I also just love superheroes. I think superheroes are cool. I know the entire like film industry is just saturated with somewhat mediocre superhero films. I know Superman just came out, and Superman seems pretty good. I gotta go watch that. But we got that. Actually, speaking of superheroes, side tangent. Uh, there's a movie theater nearby my home, and they are showing Superman tonight. I think. Um, ooh, 10 p.m. Ooh, that's easy. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna get a ticket right now. This is so great. I totally forgot that they were showing this at the movie theater. What is taken up on a Sunday night? I can just get whatever ticket I want. I know that I can't select more seats. I just want that one. There we go. Sorry, side tangent continuing until I can purchase this ticket. Ba-ba-ba. Email. Email. I don't have a rewards number. I don't want the newsletter, I just want the ticket. Yeah, that's fine. Do I have my wallet on me? Oh, great. I don't have my wallet on me. One moment, please. Alright, ticket purchased. Side tangent over. We'll get back on track to what I was talking about. But yes, I love superheroes. I'm now gonna go see that movie tonight, so I suppose in the next video I'll give a movie review of that. Note to self. But yes, so Sentinels of Multiverse, great game, great card game. Let's get back on track. Second game that I really like, but I find it to have one major flaw is Betrayal at the House on the Hill. And Betrayal, I'm just gonna call it Betrayal because all of my friends that have ever played the game just call it Betrayal because it's a very long name. But Betrayal is a game where it's like those campy horror movies. You're exploring this like abandoned house, you're finding all these cursed objects, and then over time, if you collect enough cursed objects, then uh, what's the thing called the haunt begins, and that basically changes the whole game into uh, one or more people is actually revealed to be a traitor, and you need to and then everyone else is like a survivor, and the survivors have to take down the traitor, and the traitor has to like kill the survivors or something. And there's this whole like booklet that kind of denotes like what the haunt is and like who is the traitor and what do they have to do, and it's a very cool concept. It's honestly really fun to play for that first half of the game before the haunt begins, because you're walking around in this creepy mansion and you're collecting all this stuff and you're getting like stat bonuses and whatever. And then you get to after the haunt and you're kind of underwhelmed because most of the haunts kind of suck. And like it's supposed to be like it's supposed to be random enough, and I get what they're going for. It's supposed to be random enough to where you don't really know what's going to happen and you can never like predict what all is going on. But it's kind of lame. I mean, they run out of ideas really quickly, and it kind of shows. And they're just kind of like army crawling their way slowly through every possible scenario of stuff. Like for example, I was playing a game and it was really fun because we explored. There's in built into the game. There's three different levels to the house, of like the main floor, the basement, and like the attic area. And we had explored like a ton. We went really deep into the first half of the game where we had like a ton of rooms in all of like the main floor and the basement and the attic, and it was this whole sprawling thing. And then the haunt itself was like uh one of you is like a crazed director and you're trying to get your actors to like make your horror movie in the house, so you start chasing them down with like props, and it just really like it just takes you out of it. And it's like it's not like, well, some of them are scary. I'd say like maybe like 10% of the games that I've played of this had like scary ones where it's like you're you're like a vampire lord and you have like minions that run around like turning other people into vampires and you're trying to escape the house. Like that one was cool. I remember that one. And then there was another one where it's like you become this gelatinous blob and you like eat away at the house by like taking tiles off the the board of like how the house is built out with tiles, and you take out the tiles in the house to show that you're like eating the house. Like that one was cool. But like the majority of them are kind of like the stupid director one where it's like I, I don't care, and you just took me out of this game. So r- rant over. But I like what I like about Betrayal is that it's very like modular almost. I think is the word. It's very modular. Like you never the pieces are the same, but you never like walk through the same house, so to speak. Like you're always building a different house every time, so there's always that element of like randomness. Um, I also love what I do love too about it is that you do like look through like the booklet uh of information like the booklet of information on like how to continue playing once you reach a certain point, because that what that does is it like it gives you a little bit of story, and it kind of changes up the rules as you play. So you have like a basic set of rules, and then like rules change. You have like a basic set of rules, and then you have the haunt rules on top of that, whatever that might be, depending on like what the game is. Uh, and then if I was I guess I'm planning on like utilizing that in the construction of this game, and if I was to do that, I would make it cool, and I would spend a lot of time making sure that every possible scenario is cool and fun to play, and if it's not, then I get rid of it, because I hate that about Betrayal at House on the Hill, because after the first half of the game is cool and the second half is terrible most of the time, and so you're just like, ugh, okay. So I would make it cool. I would make it cool, and that's all I have to say about that. And quote Forrest Gump. What else? Third game. Third of my favorite games. Um. Oh, let's see. Oh, speaking of like horror games, Arkham Horror. I really do like Arkham Horror. It's a fun game. If you don't know what Arkham Horror is, it's a game inspired by the writings of H.P. Lovecraft, who makes Lovecraftian horror, hence the name. So guys like Cthulhu, uh, Yggdrasil, I think is another one. Azathoth is another one. I'm not super familiar with it, but I have played a lot of games of Arkham Horror, and the things that I've picked up from that genre and his stuff come from that game specifically. Uh, but what Arkham Horror is it takes that kind of coat of paint of the, I think it's called cosmic horror. Like it's just like unfathomable, like terrible beasts that like you just like can't comprehend it. And it's very dark. It's very like hopeless, uh, like really existential dread vibe. But it takes that kind of coat of paint and it puts it in a very like narrative driven game where you're like walking around a town, and there's like this whole plot that you have to unravel by like picking up clues, and as you play the game you reveal like new cards that kind of push the game along. They give you different objectives. They give you like different things to do. Um, it's really fun. It's also insanely difficult. I've played like, I don't know, 8 games of it over my life, and I think I've only won a single one of them and gotten close a couple other times, and then just completely fell flat on our faces. Uh, like another time, everyone that we were playing with. Uh, but it's fun. Like it's not like, I wouldn't say it's unfair. I wouldn't say it's unfair. I would say there's definitely luck involved. You're rolling dice to make like skill checks and stuff for things, so there's obviously a luck element to it. But it never. I don't think it's ever really came down to the fact that like it's never been like make or break a dice roll unless it's like something that we ourselves have hyped up to be that way. Like the game does not revolve around like the make or break dice roll. I mean, there are dice rolls, but most of the time if you fail you can recover easily. I don't know what I'm trying to articulate really. It's fun. It's not unfair, it's fun. Even like losing is fun because, I wouldn't say losing is I mean losing losing's kind of fun. Losing's more just like you're just kind of in awe of like the sheer cascade of terrible things that have happened in front of you that you can't really be upset unless like something really bullshit happened, which is exceedingly rare. But it's a very fun game, and I like it, and it keeps you coming back for more if you have the right group of people to like be really dedicated to it. It's a great game. It's very complicated too. It's like it takes a while to set up because you have to sort out all these different cards, and there's a whole bunch of things with um like story elements and stuff that you have to set up, and it takes a while. That's the one like gripe that I really have about it, is that it does take a while to set up, but once you do, and once you get familiar with setting it up and can do it a little quicker, it's a great game. So to kind of put that more into words, I love uh the story of Arkham Horror, and I guess I'd say I like the complexity of Arkham Horror. Um, I like how I like how rich it is. It's very dense. Maybe that's a better word. It's very dense in terms of like all the mechanics working together, like all the small components working together in the big clock of Arkham Horror is it it's very cool to see, because you have yourselves, the players, you have all these different monsters that are coming in and like attacking you. You have all of these different clues that you're trying to find. You have all these different places that you're going, all of these different encounters that further the story, all of this stuff that's just conglomerating together into this overarching narrative of the story. And I really like that. I really like that about Arkham Horror, and I think that's great. Um, are there any other games that I like really like for a certain purpose? Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think. What are some really good games? Hmm. I don't know. I like I like these three. These three are like my kind of go-to games when I think of game. I'm a very like I love board games. Like I'm sure if like a normal person was to be like, I'm gonna make a board game, and I want to make it like Monopoly and sorry, like like Monopoly and Sorry and Scrabble and like all of those like really really big Hasbro name brand titles. They're not these. They really aren't. Uh, these are much more like you're getting into the world of like board gaming. I think, not to sound like a total gatekeeper. You should really check out these games. I highly recommend these games if you at all wanted a recommendation on this. But um, it's it this is not like a this isn't gonna be like this ain't your mama's board game we're making here. This is something a little spicier. This is something with a little bit of flair. I want it to have a little bit of flair. I want to make it really fun to play. Maybe that's like a thing. Fun to play but like I want to emphasize that like you want to have a good time with your friends with this. A good time with your friends. So definitely, I think definitely then it would be a cooperative game. Uh, like teamwork. And cooperative just means like it's not like Monopoly where it's like you're controlling your own like domain of stuff and you're competing with your friends. Cooperative is like you're working together to to complete a goal overarchingly in the game, uh, which I like because you wanna work with your friends, um, and that's nice. Fun to play, good time with your friends. Um, I guess like another thing would be uh, something along the lines of like easy to learn. hard to master, maybe, where it's like you can pick it up relatively easily if you read the rules and kind of set it up and get like a group of friends together. And then there's enough depth to it to where you can get better over time at it. Uh like you can I mean the more that you play it, the easier it's going to be. With as with anything really, the more that you do it, the more that you learn, the more that the better you can do at it. Um I guess what I would I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm figuring it out as I ramble. Uh you want to be able to pick, maybe, yeah, maybe instead of that, it's easily accessible. That's what I accessible. Jesus Christ, I'm illiterate. I'm illiterate. Uh, yeah, easily accessible. That. Yeah, you want to be able to pick it up with your friends. You can read the rules. Someone can explain it, or someone can explain it to you easily. Without too much difficulty, obviously. Um, and you should be able to pick it up and get a feel for it very quickly. It shouldn't be like a whole, like it shouldn't take a whole afternoon to like learn this game and then play it, because I know games like that, and I like some of those games like that, but I don't want to make a game like that. I feel like I I feel like I would get bogged down in the jargon of making a game like that way too easily. So definitely something where you can pick it up and play. Like you can pick it up, you can learn it relatively quickly, and then you can play. And you can play all the way through, and you'll be okay. I would like that. Uh, in a somewhat opposite vein of that, I do like Arkham Horror Complexity, because I feel like the daunting thing about Arkham Horror is that it's a bigger game. Like it's a much more involved game than is normal. That's kind of like where it's kind of like the next like step up from the staircase of like really really complex games. And I guess what I'm considering like the most complex, I think the most complex game I've ever played is Twilight Imperium 4th edition. And I did not understand what I was doing that game, even though I had people like explaining it to me. And I definitely messed up, and they were super nice and didn't take advantage of the fact that I was a complete newbie at it. And I thank them graciously for that, because they would have absolutely obliterated me. But if you don't know what that game is, please look it up. I'm not going to go into it that much, but it's a very very complicated game about like space travel and space warfare and space diplomacy, and it's very complex. So I would consider that like the pinnacle of complex games that are even remotely accessible to anyone. Because then you have like the joke games, which I think is like that whatever campaign to Africa thing where no one's ever actually done a game of it because it's that complex. I don't that's like a joke. So I consider Twilight Imperium 4th edition at like the top of the ladder, or the staircase, or whatever I said earlier. And then there's a couple games in between, I would think, and then somewhere towards like the middle top is Arkham Horror, where you're kind of getting there in terms of the things that you have to keep track of, and the way that you play the game gets a little bit more involved. A little beneath Arkham Horror, I would say, is like a game like Risk. I'd think maybe a few tiers down from that is Risk, because that's where you start getting like Risk is kind of where you start getting into like that grand strategy esque sphere of like planning out a bunch of moves in advance and sort of having this whole sprawling board. If you've played like Civilization is very very complicated. I don't think I've ever I don't think I've ever finished a Civilization 6, the video game, but I don't think I've ever actually played a full game of Civilization 6. I find that game to be very, very complicated. But that's like the grand strategy taken to like a whole other level. But Risk is like the ramp up to it's like baby's first grand strategy game. It's very easy to pick up, and you do it and you don't really realize you're doing it until after you're done, where you're like, oh man, that was actually pretty cool. Um, but yeah, so my game, I'd want my game to sit between like the Risk Arkham Horror section of the staircase in terms of complexity, where you're getting those elements and you're kind of feeling it out. Like you should be familiar with some of them, like some of those elements, but it should be easily explainable to someone who hasn't experienced those elements before, and you can get them in. Maybe not as deep as what Arkham Horror does, but definitely in that vein and style. Um, yeah, I highly recommend you play these games if you don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know if I'm doing a very good job of capturing what is going on with these games, but this is how I think about it. So hopefully you take something from that. Fun to play, good time with your friends, easily accessible. Um, what else? I guess something like never play the same game twice. Uh, this more so applies to a lot of card games, cause I mean there's okay, th- th- there's always elements of randomness in games that you play. Uh, in general, I wouldn't. There's always elements of randomness in games to where, technically speaking, you are never. I'm gonna put this in quotes. This is more like a. This is more like. This is more just like a figure of speech, I guess. Like you never play the same game twice, right? You're like, obviously, elements of randomness. There are things that you will just never control, to where technically you will never do the exact same thing a second time upon playing the game. Otherwise, it's not really a game, because you're just doing steps in order. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm more so talking about you aren't you always get a different taste of the game every time you play it. You're never you're never bound to do the same strategy. You're never bound to pick the same character. You're never bound to go to the same places, unless it's like a story thing where you have to go to a certain place. But you get the point. You're never locked in to like a flavor. You're never just served chocolate ice cream and you're just like, enjoy chocolate ice cream. No, you have a choice. You can try vanilla, you can try strawberry, you can try Rocky Road. You can put toppings on it if you wanted to. You get a different taste every time you play the game. And that in and of itself, I think, will come through in the mechanics of it. Because I really do like the betrayal, like, rule change thing with like the booklets, where it kind of gives you like a blurb of what's going on and then some new rules that you have to add at a certain point. I really like that. And I think that will take care of this problem mostly. Um and I think that's great, because then you're never like, you never quite know what you're getting into, truly. You're always like on your toes. And I think that's fun. And I think that's a lot of replay value. Uh, that might be another way of rephrasing, like replay value. I think that's what I think. I'm pretty sure that's what people talk about when they talk about replay value. And I think that's good. I think those are some good goals to keep in mind, where it's fun to play. You have a good time. You have a good time with your friends as like a cooperative game. It should be easily accessible. You should be able to just pick it up. and you're never gonna play the same game twice with a good amount of replay value to kind of go through and see everything that you want from it. I think that's good. I think that's really nice. How long is it? 35 minutes of me rambling as of now. That's amazing. Um cool. Great. Let's keep it going. This is good. I'm in a flow now. I'm getting it. I'm getting the juices pumping here. Um yeah. Okay. I'm kind of seeing it a little. Um okay. I think I think now I think now you got to talk about mechanics. I think once you have like an inspiration, and I know I've already kind of talked about this a little bit already, but does this actually just work? Oh, okay, never mind. I've talked about this a little bit already in terms of what like mechanics I want. Mechanics being like the I guess I would call this mechanics and systems for the game. Uh, where it's like it's what are you doing? Are you drawing cards? Are you playing cards? Are you moving pieces around a board? Are you looking in the story booklet? Um, and things like that. Where it's like what physical actions are you taking in the sphere of this game, and how are those working together to craft the experience itself of the game? And I think I think the main thing I'm gonna write it down because I've said it a lot. I want a story booklet of some kind. I definitely want to do like a narrative thing where it's like as you play, you're either playing out a narrative or you're forming a narrative where it's like you can see the whole story arc as you're doing it, as you're playing the game, I should say. And I think a little story booklet is great for that because um you're you're given a guide of sort of what is happening. I think I also probably want an element of like imagination of like you're kind of piecing it together in your brain. Like you're given a card, like let's just say for example like you're given I don't know, you're given like a boxing glove item. I don't know. You're giving like a boxing glove item, and I don't know. In your brain, you're thinking like you're like following, and like you're making up your own like head canon of like, oh, my character's dad was actually a boxer, and this is like my birthright, or like something like that. Where it's like you're forming your own ideas in your brain of like what you're seeing on the board, and maybe not like what is like it's not like the story booklet would be like, oh, your father was a champion boxer back in the day, and this is his lucky boxing glove that's for you. No, you would like think about it. You'd work it into the overall narrative for your own enjoyment, and you would like come up with your own like micro story in your brain, and then like you keep like going with the overarching narrative of the story, and your brain kind of fills in the gaps that the game like has in the wall, or not the wall, but in like the building of the game. Like you're filling in the cracks, you're making it nice and polished, where you're kind of given the framework of the story and you flesh it out like in your brain. I think that's nice, and I think a story booklet is great for that because it gives you just nice plain English, or just plain words, I guess, to listen to and to take in for general beats of the story. It's the most direct way to get story is by reading it. Duh. Um, and I think that's cool. And I think like fleshing that out, that really does make it like a personal game. It does make every game personal to where you're never playing the same game twice because now you're forming your own unique narrative of the game. And I think that's a great system to have for this game. Um, I like that. I like I like what do I like? I like big missions or like big missions, small missions. Like you have a big goal and you have a bunch of tinier goals to complete to get there. Um, I think that's mostly that seems way too general for like a mechanic. Because I mean that's kind of everything where it's like you have a big goal and you split it into smaller goals to get there. How else can I word this? It's like it's like the point of the game if it's cooperative. Let's just say for example the point of the game is that you're trying to I don't know. Let's say you're trying to collect like 5 items, right? You're trying to collect 5 items and bring them to an ancient altar or something. And you make like the whole thing with the game is that you're collecting all of these pieces of like an artifact and you're bringing it to an altar to restore this like hidden sanctuary type place or whatever. And that's like the big mission, right? Okay, that's what I would call the big mission. You are playing this game and you are looking for pieces of this artifact to collect and then come together and in this one spot and you win the game by completing this artifact. That's big mission, right? That's what I would call big mission. That's like the point of the game. And and your small mission in the context of this hypothetical game is like you have to you have to travel to this location within the game and like barter with shopkeepers to get access to like a piece of the artifact. And that in and of itself is like a piece of the game that you have to play out. Where something like bartering would be like the one of the mechanics in the game, and then you're bartering your way through different locations to gather the pieces. And that's like the division of the big mission and the small mission. Like the small mission is actually gathering a singular piece of the artifact, and the big mission is getting all of the artifact pieces together in one spot to win the game. And that's kind of what I'm thinking in a very general but like grounded sense of what I'm talking about. And I like that division. I like that division because it gives you kind of a basis to come back to if you don't know what you're doing. I think, or I I think I would like that where it's like if I'm lost in this game, if I'm trying to figure out okay, what do I do on my turn? And if it's cooperative, I have my friends there to like help me out and we discuss stuff. But if we're like what do we do? We can remember the big missions and the small missions where it's like the big mission here is we're trying to get these pieces, duh, that's the goal of the game. And then the small mission is that we got to do X, Y, and Z. And so okay, do we focus on X right now, do we focus on Y right now, like we and then we can like have a discussion about that instead of just like sitting there like, huh, man, we're really getting swamped right now. Ugh. Like no, you always have something to work towards. You always have something to work towards, something to do. Um, and I think that's cool. I think that's a really really good thing. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it. What am I at here? 45 minutes. Okay, great. I think 45 minutes is definitely a long enough video for you to be listening to me ramble on about nothing. So, I'm gonna cap it here, and we'll pick up with this at a later date. So, yeah, I think we've got a pretty solid foundation. I'm already getting a couple of ideas of like the style that I want, the kind of the vibe that I want and the style that I want. I think I'm kind of getting an idea already. So, I'll leave it here. We'll come back to this at a later date. So, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video, subscribe, send a comment, cash app me money, please. Don't do that. Don't do any. Don't. You know what? Don't do any of that. Just ignore this. Yeah, reverse psychology. There you go. Um. Yeah, I hate. I hate like. I hate asking for people to like share my stuff because I really. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter all that much. If you enjoy it, just watch the video and take your enjoyment from it. The Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed it, and it's for me. And as you know what, as long as I enjoyed it, I'm okay with that. As long as I enjoyed it, I'm okay with that. And yeah.